factoring quadratics is something that can sometimes give us a little bit of trouble. Not so hard something like this, particularly because the coefficient of my x squared, my highest power there is 1. So when that happens, I know that I can immediately set up my two binomials, and if the expression is factorable, I can put two x's there, and all I need to do is figure out what factors of my constant, when I add them together, are going to give me the coefficient of my middle term. So in that case, well, so this is pretty simple because it's 3. So I have a 3 and a 1, and I can see that's going to be a plus and that's going to be a minus, and if I FOIL this out, I'll get x squared, well, minus 3x plus 1x minus 3, or x squared minus 2x minus 3, which is what I was looking for. Where students get a little bit less happy is when I have a coefficient in front of my highest power, in front of my x squared. So I'm going to teach a new method for factoring, and it's called the slip slide method. You'll see why in a minute. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to take this 8 and I'm going to multiply it by the constant. So I'm going to have x squared minus 2x minus 24. 8 times 3 is 24, and I've dropped the 8. So now I have something that I can factor that doesn't have a beginning term, doesn't have a beginning coefficient. So I know if it doesn't have a coefficient in the highest power, I'm going to have x and x. And all I need to do is figure out, well, what factors of 24, my constant, are going to give me negative 2? Well, I know it's going to be a 6 and a 4, because 6 times 4 is 24, and there's two spaces between them, so it's going to be negative 6, and it's going to be positive 4. Well, now that, of course, isn't how my original is going to be factored, but I get to do something interesting here, and this is where the slip slide comes in. So I'm going to take this 8 that we were working with in the beginning, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the constants in my new binomials by 8. So I'm going to get x minus 6 divided by 8 times x plus 4 divided by 8. I just took this constant here, and I used it, and I divided that constant and that constant by 8. And so I have some of these fractions here. I'm going to simplify them a little bit. I have x minus, that would be 3 over 4, times x plus 1 over 2. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide. I'm going to take this denominator and I'm going to move it in front of the x power. So this is going to be 4x minus 3. So I slipped and slided it over. And this is going to be 2x plus 1. And it turns out, if I FOIL this out here, well, that gives me 8x squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 3, 8x squared minus 2x minus 3, which is exactly what we started with. And this method of factoring will work every time that an expression is factorable. Of course, if it's not factorable, then you can't use it. But if the expression is factorable, this slip slide method will work. And what I have for you here, this is a little summary with a different example, giving you the 5 steps of this process. So this is something that you can kind of freeze, you can take a picture of, and have the 5 steps for the slip slide method of factoring.